Hey, what's up, everyone? You're currently tuned into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 in Santa Barbara and netnetradio.com out of Tijuana. Today, we're talking with noted basketball superstar Nat Baldwin. He's also a triple threat, having played upright bass in a variety of respected indie institutions, written a collection of short stories, and even runs a triptychs tape label. Thank you for joining us, Nat.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Nat, so just recently, we believe you left your longtime home state of Maine to settle down in Massachusetts. How has that been?
It has been very interesting. Yeah, it's a big life change. I was in Maine for a long time, and landed in Northampton, Mass, last August, and had some life changes there. And now I'm living up in Greenfield, which is a little north of Northampton. Nice little town, really great arts and music community, and yeah, really good energy here so far. And yeah, it's after Northampton, it's been a good landing spot. So excited to see what comes next.
What's to come. Yeah. What initially brought you down from Maine? Like, why did you decide to move?
I was with my partner at the time was going to school in Western Mass, so we moved here together.
I see.
And now I live solo in Greenfield.
So I guess how is I don't know, what's the difference between Maine, I guess in terms of music scene and stuff, what was going down in Maine compared to what's going down now in Massachusetts, and how are you settling in with that?
It seemed it's kind of a nice, I mean, it's a weird time to relocate anywhere as we're sort of still going through various points of the ongoing
pandemic,
and kind of ever shifting, but still very much sustaining pandemic. But there's been shows here, and people are doing things safely, and it feels good.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like everywhere, it's sort of gone in waves. There's been stuff that's shut down, and
yeah.
But yeah, it was wild. I mean, there was really nothing. But when I moved, let's see, so that was last year. So it had been going on for about a year, or a little bit longer, and there was really nothing. So it was, I was, yeah. I mean, but that's what it was like everywhere.
Yeah.
But
what? Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's the thing that feels really exciting about being here as opposed to being in Maine is just the sort of the more kind of central it is to the Northeast. It's really easy to shoot down to New York or Philly, and I mean, as I still haven't got back into touring full on or anything. So I'm sort of just I've done some shows a little bit, but mostly really close by. But it's just it's easier to do that. Do some weekend trips. I'm doing something next weekend. Actually going back to Portland to play there for the first time, which will feel
sick.
Great.
That's cool.
And then and it's not that far. It's about 3 hours, and then going to New Haven, which is about an hour and a half from here, and then doing a show back here, and then shooting up to Burlington, Vermont, which is about 3 hours. So I feel like sort of any direction about 3 or 4 hours, you can really cover a lot of, you could do a week and a half to 2 week tour, just not really going much further than 5 or 6 hours from in either direction.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, I really, Maine obviously um, has is amazing in so many ways too. But as far as the location, it's pretty isolating there. And there's not as many. I mean, I did meet some really great. There's great musicians in Maine. Tons of great folks, and I had some really nice collaborations going. But it's a little bit. There's definitely more going on in Western Mass as far as experimental music and improvised music. There's just more people to play with. So that's been really nice, and everything's sort of spread out. It's like, as I said, I'm in Greenfield. This small little town, a little north of Northampton. Northampton sort of feels central because there's schools there, and it's like it's a little bit more populated, but it's still a pretty small town. And then but yeah, like Greenfield, Turner's Falls, there's all these kind of like cute little towns. Everyone's used to driving, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, any, like everyone's kind of spread out a little bit, but it still feels like a tight community. And so that feels really good. And I met people like pretty immediately and started playing with folks here.
That's cool. Yeah, that's sick.
And that's been really good.
Are these upcoming shows you're doing, are they focusing those people you've recently met or kind of just working with right now?
Actually, it is, I'm going to be playing duo with Jason Gibbs, who is a guitar player from Portland. And so he was one of my closest collaborators in Portland. So it'll be the first time that we play. Well, I guess we did some recording, and we did some playing in the before I left during the first part of the pandemic. But we definitely have not played any show. We did a live stream. That was
yeah.
We did
great era.
Yeah. So I'm really psyched to reconnect with Jason, and then the other, and we're traveling with another double bass and electric guitar duo. And it's David Menestres on bass and Jessica Ackerley on
sick,
guitar.
Dude. I love Jessica. Yeah.
And so Jess lives in Hawaii now, and
wow.
I didn't know was in New York for a long time. So yeah, I think she's coming back to do various things, various projects, shows and recordings, and this is just one little splice of that. So and we haven't. Oh yeah, wow. So, but I have met David. It was right the last tour I did before the pandemic kicked off, was at the end of February, early March. My last show was March 9th of 2020 for that tour. And just a few days before that, I played with David at Duke. He lives down in Durham, North Carolina, and we played a show at Duke University.
Oh, sick.
And it was super fun. His music is amazing, and so we've been in touch, since then. And Jess is just an internet friend, so we'll be meeting IRL for the first time. So that'll be really fun.
That's awesome. So I guess we were talking kind of like what the scene is like currently and everything. Can you also like talk about just like growing up in that area and like getting into music and kind of like your intro to like DIY and all that?
yeah, trying to think of the best way to kind of start. Well,
Yeah.
the way it's yeah, it could be a very long version, but I'll try to.
We could go with this in parts, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we'll see.
However you want to do it. Like if it's longer, that's cool too. Like we're down.
Yeah. I'll probably just ramble, but I mean, I started. Music was always. I was always around music, like growing up. My dad is a singer and a saxophone player, and he always had a band growing. He still has a band. It's called Ben Baldwin and the Big Note.
That's sick.
And they play like old. They do all covers and play old kind of R&B and soul music and rock and roll and swing and so growing up, I would go see them play all the time. And I actually just came across a video online of the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Jazz Festival in 1983, and so I was 3 at that time, and my dad's band was playing, and there was an interview at the end. My dad was holding me, and he's like, "What's your favorite instrument?" And I was like, "Drums," and like did like a little air drum motion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess drums were my favorite instrument when I was 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also, as you mentioned in the introduction, I was really into sports growing up, and specifically basketball. And
the drum beat of a basketball.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And I was really into it and really focused, and that's kind of where I put my energy. I ended up I did take drum lessons when I was about 10, and I think it just wasn't fun. Like I used to like set up pots and pans and stuff and just kind of bash away and like and I guess, yeah, that's my early experiences improvising. But doing it in the lessons, we were doing, I mean, it makes sense, but, we were doing just very foundational, rudimentary stuff. And I just, as a 10-year-old, with a lot of energy, and like, I just wasn't into it. So yeah, but then at the end, so kind of fast forwarding to the end of high school, I had some, well, yeah, I don't know how much to tell. I mean, I had some rough experiences, and yeah, without going into deep detail, it made me really take a left turn away from sports and toward music. And so it happened really fast, but it also felt really natural. And once I was always, or not always, I mean, I guess in sort of early high school, when I started getting into other kinds of music, thinking about things, like, just because I really was sort of like in those kind of jock scene when I was growing up. And then in high school, I started, even though I was still very into basketball, I still was, I sort of, started hanging out with, the hippies and the sort of alternative kid, and started getting into other music, and like, and had some great like English teachers that really like kind of blew my mind, you know, when just hit me at the right time, you know, and started getting into different stuff. And I got really into jazz and got, and just gravitated toward the bass. And so I guess, I mean, I only mentioned the sort of the rough stuff and the sharp turn to say that like music was really, really a savior at the time. And I think I really needed something that, because I had put so much focus and energy into one thing for so long, and to have that sort of in a way taken away or stopped abruptly in a way that that was challenging, to then refocus that kind of energy into a creative pursuit, into music, that in a way that that I had, you know, a very supportive community, and just exactly what I needed at that time. And yeah, so I think part of, and also sort of mentioning the basketball thing, I think I sort of took my some of what I learned, or what I was sort of the style of study that I was engaged in with the sport. I took some of that to music too, and was just like really, really focused and just practiced a ton. I think, like, you know, so if you start a little bit later, your learning is going to be accelerated. You know, you've already developed all these other skills. You've had other life experiences, and you're ready to learn a little faster than if you're like learning an instrument when you're 8 or something. So, you know, I was like 18 and just ready to rock. So I was practicing a ton, and I just applied to the Hart School of Music, sort of, I mean, kind of on a whim. Like I didn't apply to any other music schools. It was, the other schools I applied to were like Bennington, the more like, like Bennington and Bard and stuff like that. Those kind of like alternative style schools in the Northeast. And I applied to the Hart School in Connecticut, a really small kind of like music conservatory that's part of the University of Hartford. And I really hadn't been playing long at all, but I think you know, they could tell that I was like had really good work ethic with the bass, and was just really, really driven and you know, was learning quickly. So so I went there, and I don't know. I mean, I can kind of speed through a little bit. It's like, you know, I went there immediately, like got kind of turned off by the conservatism of the school. And like immediate, you know, like was already into like Cecil Taylor and stuff like that. And my just, so then it just went further and further kind of into more wild territory. And that was pretty immediate. And I think it was also just a reaction to a lot of the conservatism that I, you know, was exposed to in the, at the Hart School. And I, not to like throw a ton of shade on it. It's just, you know, it just wasn't what I needed at the time. And in a way it was good, because it showed me what I was into, what I did need. And what ended up happening is I basically just gravitated toward the folks at at Wesleyan University, which is really nearby, and Anthony Braxton was teaching there.
This was going to come up. I was going to, because I read the post that you did talking about meeting Anthony Braxton and kind of that experience. At this time, you had built up also a sizable physical media collection of sorts, had you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So as a teenager, you had been also buying, though, a lot of jazz music or, you know, whatever you could.
Yes.
And then a bunch of it was stolen, though, or taken. Yes. What was, at least could, in any capacity, you kind of talk about what it was like buying music in the late 90s there for you? What was that thrill of? How does this experience still haunt you to this day? It's a fear for me as well to lose all of my physical media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was pretty heartbreaking. Yeah, you know, I mean, I had a great collection of jazz and free jazz and I just and it was all CDs at the time. And I loved like organizing them by the label and like I think that's sort of, I mean, we can get into the label.
Were there any specific labels that you really loved to go after?
What's that?
Were there any specific labels, jazz-wise, or
that you were like specifically like
ESP disc or ECM? Any even farther out there?
Yes, yeah, for sure. The ESP stuff for sure. And I mean, early on, like I had a ton of Blue Note and a ton of Atlantic and a ton of Impulse. But yeah, and then it was like the FMP, like free music production, the Hat Hut or Hat Art, and yeah, so like there were, and I just loved I loved the packaging. I loved having the I mean, for all the, whatever, you know, you guys get it, you know, for all the same reasons why.
Yeah, exactly.
Why you love having that, that physical, media, feels good. So so that experience was nuts because actually it was after my sophomore year at the school in Hartford. And I was moving out of my dorm apartment and heading home for the summer.
And so were they just like in your car and someone just broke into your car and took them, or? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But I was about to play a show. So I was on my way home, but I stopped in Middletown to play a show. And then I was going to continue driving home later.
Yeah.
That night, and I did, but my car was just full of everything I owned, and all the CDs were packed really, you know, neatly in shoeboxes, all right in my passenger seat, just like prime spot.
Yeah.
For if you're looking to steal something in a packed car, that's like the first thing that you grab. So that's what happened, and we were rehearsing. We were playing this place called the Buttonwood Tree, and it had a big window that faced the street. And we were rehearsing this music, and I looked out the window and I saw somebody moving from my passenger side. He was sort of obscured because it was on the other side of the car, but passenger side to his car. And I was like, something doesn't look right over there. And then we realized what was happening, and the whole band, which was not the most intimidating group of characters, but we all ran out onto the street, and the guy just got in his car pretty slowly. He didn't look too worried, and just drove away. And then I ran up to my car, and
the CDs are gone.
Sure enough, they were gone. So then and yeah, you bring that up in the Braxton context. And then just a few minutes later, Anthony Braxton showed up, and and he got there a little bit early to the show. And so that was the first time I met him. And I think one of the first things I said was just that somebody just stole all your all my CDs of yours, because I had a huge stack of his stuff at the time. And one of the people in the band, Justin Yang, who was a grad student at Wesleyan at the time, he was really sweet. He burnt a bunch of CDR copies of a lot of the Braxton stuff and a lot of the stuff that he and I had connected over. Mm-hmm. And actually, just right behind me, I still have those burnt
that's
CDs
sick.
that Justin gave me.
Yay! Oh,
so yeah, I mean, so there's a story out of it, but and you know, I've replaced some that I wanted, and obviously replaced my collection with other stuff that I want. So I've got plenty of stuff now. And I'm not gonna make that mistake again.
I think that's crazy too, that someone would just like walk up to like your car and just like steal those CDs. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, sell those at a record store and get pennies for them? You know, it's like you're not making a good chunk of change.
It would have been nothing. And like, yeah, it was wild. It was right on like Main Street in Middletown too, in broad daylight. And I think people were kind of watching out for him. You know, I mean, which was cool of them to do. Like, you know, they're watching out for cops and stuff. And they pulled it off. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean,
I mean, it's like, it's weird too.
Maybe he was a huge Braxton fan though. And
exactly. It's like, it just makes you wonder, like, all right, like, did you need those to like make rent or something? Like, you know, it's like also like, why don't you just ask me and I could give you a handful of the stuff I don't listen to anymore or something, dude. Or like,
instead of breaking my window too.
It's like now you put me down like a bunch of money because I got to repair my window too. And then, it also makes you wonder too, like, was he actually like a music lover? Because I feel like as someone who loves music, I wouldn't do that to another person because I would know how much that would hurt me. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah,
I know. Yeah, a lot of questions there, but I guess we'll never know. But the other funny component to that too is that my car had got broken into about 2 months before that.
Oh my god!
And just I think I just had like a CD, like a Discman, on the dashboard that was then like routed through, or then went into a tape disc or
whatever.
You know what I'm talking about? And I didn't put it away, and then I went to a bar or something, so it was like out in the open. So somebody smashed my window, took that, and that was like 2 months before that. And I was I hadn't fixed my window until that day, because the day that it
got broken again
situation happened, because I was like, oh, I'm going home. I had just been driving around with no passenger window and with glass all over my passenger side for a couple months. Because I don't know, I wasn't using my car much, and I was just like, oh, whatever. But then I was like, all right, I'm going home today. I can't go home to my parents with like shattered glass all over the place. So I'm gonna fix it today. So I fixed it that day, went to the show, and then a few hours later, that's when it got busted again.
Wow.
So, yeah, wild times.
So I guess like real quick, I don't know, do you want to just like sum up your experience like studying under Anthony Braxton? So you met him in this like, interesting time when you had just gotten like your car or your music robbed and stuff. I guess like, what was it like studying under him after that? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I just, I ended up moving to Middletown, and I applied there to transfer out of the Hart School, and I didn't get in. So I just moved to Middletown and asked Braxton if I could go to his classes, and he said yes.
Just like crash them?
Yeah, just crash them. And
nice.
I guess people had done that in the past. You know, you can, and he was fine with it. So I just took 2 classes, and one was just playing all of his music. And so, you know, we didn't become super close and I didn't work with him like in small ensembles or anything. Mm-hmm. You know, but I was there for about a year. And it was just amazing being around him. I mean, I learned so much, and the players at the time, and composers at Wesleyan at that time were incredible. So it was a really great community, and really, you know, I think that year probably it was, you know, I made the biggest strides, not only on a sort of technical level of my instrument and craft, but just on a creative level, really expanding into new territory and stuff. So that was a really fruitful time. It really was huge, because it was, you know, I was just playing with so many different people and in a lot of different contexts too.
Yeah.
And that was just, yeah, I mean, it was really amazing. And everyone was just really focused but supportive. And it was also just fun. You know, it wasn't, you know, we were playing all this very serious music, but, but we were also just having a great time. And it was just a really like beautiful and supportive community. And I should, I guess, mention too, is that part of moving there, the idea was that I would reapply. And then at the end of the year, I decided not to, and that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, so it was really it was a brief time. It sort of feels longer because it was, because it feels so important. And the crazy thing is too, and this is fast forwarding a bunch, and we don't have to, we can wait to get more into the present, but I'm actually going to Wesleyan in the fall as a grad student.
Sick.
I just applied. I applied 2 years ago and didn't get in, and or last year, and then reapplied, and I'll be going there in the fall. So this is like 20 years later. So it feels wild. And you know, it's a different place now, and I'm in a different place, but but anyway, yeah, we can still step back and move toward that. But I just thought I'd mention that.
That's cool.
No, I think that's beautiful, because it was going to slightly play into a bit of our next question. We were at least going to move somewhere up to the present, but around 2015, you had started taking classes at USM, and it wasn't for music. It was for literature classes. You were the time in an interview done, you said you were hoping to go to do Stone Coast in the summer and then go full-time-ish in that fall. And you were doing an English major, and you had hoped to get your BA before you turned 43, which, if we did a little bit of mental math here, you are not 43. I'm assuming did that. Did you get the degree?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
And in that time, though, like what opportunities at least have you found in that world of literature? Because you have been writing over the past kind of half decade. You had been voraciously consuming a lot of different private press material. Just what was driving that side to go out there and then potentially, I guess, do graduate study work in that field, if I'm following correctly?
Yeah, interesting. Well, actually, I'm doing the music program at Wesleyan.
Let's go.
So yeah. But I mean, it's all tied together. I mean, I think actually the interest in like small press stuff, and that definitely ties into starting the label and
oh wow,
and that that definitely feels connected, and I think also just, you know, because some of the literature that I was getting into, some of the small press stuff, like it's definitely more, or like a lot of it's just like really weird literature, like really, you know, like more similar to like the experimental music or like noise scene than a singer-songwriter or like indie rock scene, you know.
Oh, that's lovely.
So it's sort of like, it feels like that was the segue in a way back toward improvised music and just really, like, you know, it's like that never, my interest in that never left, but it's definitely because I've done different things over the years. There's been cycles of it being more present or not at all, as far as like improvising and sort of experimental music, and, you know, taking a turn toward songwriting, but then doing songwriting and blending that with improvising, and then playing in other bands, rock bands and stuff, doing the literature stuff. So it's kind of been all over, but like, but, you know, my interest in experimental music has always been there. And then it's just sort of come back to the forefront in recent years. And I think that's totally connected to some of the stuff I was reading, as far as just like, I don't know how to describe, you know, like just more like reading fiction that is less about like following a linear, like just like non-linear narrative stuff, like not super plot based, more sonic, and fragmented and shifting of perspectives and you know, doing that, I think formally like forces you to ask, you know, different kinds of questions and listen and engage in different ways. And, in ways that I feel like are, aligned with a lot of the ways in which I think about, improvised and more experimental music. So it feels like a pretty natural, shift or what's just what the hell's the word? I don't know. It all feels like like there's continuity there, even though there's some different, even though there's some movement in different directions.
I guess I'm thinking we'll get back on script when we need to, but like I found out about it. It kind of shocked me because I'd gone through liner notes and realized, oh, I know Nat Baldwin's work. He's played on albums I own, but the album that I first noted you for was the Auto Natomia. I'm getting that right. The trilogy you had done. And it felt like that was a bit of kind of a paradigm shift or something, of getting more kind of steady back into the world of improv and honing all of this in for what would lead to tapes. Just with kind of the stuff there, what was going on when you were doing that set of 3 recordings, just mind-wise, mentally, like in terms of, was that really, you know, reflected in the reading you were doing, kind of more of those nonlinear style stuff?
The last few tours with Dirty Projectors, were challenging, and I think I just really wanted to. I think playing in a group like that with a big sort of like business infrastructure, and where we weren't necessarily. I mean, that didn't necessarily mean much for me or the other players, but there was so much on that side of things to deal with, that just got really, really tiresome.
Yeah.
And just made me kind of rethink why I do music, what I love about it. And it so in that sense, I mean, yeah. So, sorry, I'm like fumbling over. It's hard to articulate. But I think it sort of goes without explaining too, in a way. But if you have specific questions, feel free to shoot. But yeah, it makes sense to me, sort of looking back. It's like, it wasn't like a conscious, I wasn't like, oh, I fucking hate having like a manager and having to like negotiate shit and like deal with all this like other stuff that like isn't music at all. Like it wasn't like, oh, fuck that. Like, I'm going to go do, it was just like, it just happened naturally. And like looking back and analyzing it, it's like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'll leave it there, or we can, what are you going to say?
I guess I'll skip back a bit, because you did bring up some stuff there. Is that in the mid-aughts, you got involved with two groups that ended up having probably one of the most important years in indie history. You talk about Grizzly Bear, Dirty Projectors. You're looking at you had played on some of that material. Like, I got from my library In-Ear Park and from Department of Eagles, and I was like, oh, Nat Baldwin's on this. What the hell? Like, not knowing all those connections, but you had made your way almost out of like an improvisational scene into being a backing musician on two groups that, are deeply beloved. And with Dirty Projectors, that narrative of Daniel Longstriff, kind of like it was his thing with the revolving cast of musicians. And I think the difficulty or the high wire tension, which also then led to like a 5-year hiatus and other stuff. But especially in recent memory, you've contributed much more on those Dirty Projector albums. And I'm just wondering, I guess, like kind of late aughts to where things are now, at least with that, how your relationship has changed with the group. I know you had mentioned just now, it's still, there's a managerial, there is a business aspect to being in like a tier 1 indie group, but was there kind of, what was it like to, stick through so many nations of that?
Yeah, it was, that's interesting, because it was such a long time that I was in the group, but it's also, there were periods, as you mentioned, of inactivity, where I was able to do some other things. But when it was on, it was like so on that I really couldn't do anything else. I would be able to do a little bit of solo stuff in between. But and then, do, like with the Grizzly Bear and In-Ear Park stuff, those were like recordings and stuff just through, they were my friends, that I met through that scene, playing with Dirty Projectors. But I started playing with Projectors like back in 2005 or something. And that was, before the bit of Orca era and
before Rise Against,
being a lot more, being a lot more visible. So, and those early tours were tough and full on and really long and really, really grueling. And I ended up leaving for a couple years. We recorded Rise Above, and then I left for a couple years, thought I was done with the group, and then got convinced to go back for the bit of Orca stuff. So I did, and I mean, there were, like anything you do, or maybe not necessarily. I mean, I did it for long enough where it had sort of run its course, I think, and felt good to leave the group when I did. I'm really grateful for all the, there were some really, really fun years. And I think some of that music is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. I mean, that was also like kind of the first, or not the first, but like I never really played like electric bass in other projects.
Oh, wow.
So it was, and actually the first tour where I ever went on with them in 2005, there were like 9 people in the band and I was playing upright.
Wow.
And, it wasn't until whatever the next, the next tour, 2006, started playing electric. So, I don't, it's, there's some bittersweet stuff about it, but yeah, the good times were really good. And yeah, we got to do some pretty cool things.
That's sick.
It was fun going through some old interviews though that you had done, and then also seeing you talk about your basketball history and intersecting with multiple indie players who just happened in that kind of 2009 to 11 window that were really good basketball players. Is that
true?
Is this an energy that's going to come back anytime soon, you think? Or
yeah, we could do like a improvised music versus aging indie star indie band
right,
pickup game. I don't know. I shot around the other day with Neil Young, not Neil Young, but Neil Young of Fat Worm of Error.
That's sick.
Fame, if you know them. And he's got a project, Bromp Treb, and he's just a fixture here in Western Mass. He's actually moving the end of the summer. His partner got a job in California, but yeah, Neil and I shot around the other day. I still have a jump shot for sure, but I'm not moving around as not as agile as I once was. So,
dude, who's another big indie like person that was super into basketball? I know like the people from
Win Butler.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one that I think of whenever I think of like a big indie person into basketball. Like, wasn't he playing like one of the All-Star games or something like that? Or I forget what it was.
Yeah, I think him and Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, right, Justin Vernon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we played. I played with Justin Vernon. Me and my brother Niles came on tour with us. With Projectors and was working merch for the band. And he somehow worked that out. He was in college and he worked that out where that was like his like internship or something.
Sick.
But so he was working merch and my brother plays b-ball as well. And we were staying, I think we had a night off between, I don't know, Minneapolis and somewhere else further west, and stayed at or wait, does that make sense? Well, whatever, somewhere around. We were staying at Justin Vernon's house, and we went to the local YMCA in Eau Claire. Me and Niles did, and we played some pickup games there. So yeah, Justin is good, and Win is really good. And actually we were on, he has some family up in Bar Harbor, Maine. Mm-hmm. And I was living up there, briefly and, for a couple years. And we were actually on the same summer league team. He was home for the summer and I was there. We were on the same summer league team, but we were never there at the same time because we were, both at a time when we were pretty active with shows. Mm-hmm. So we were on tour at opposite times and actually never played a game together.
Damn.
So
that would have been sick.
Yeah. Trying to think of, there's some Delicate Steve.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We did some balling together. He's
sick.
really sweet. He's a really sweet guy.
Dude, that's cool.
I guess we should probably try to get to the present day with, the current project at hand, Triptychs Tapes.
Yeah.
So the moment, I guess we kind of it's been tickled around or hinted, but when was the moment you did realize I'm going to start a free jazz or experimental label? Because a lot of releases have leaned into jazz territory, at least.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I think just like right before I did it, like I like decided to do it and just went into it. I mean, it's like anything, it's like, I have thought about doing that kind of thing for a while. Like, and as we sort of touched on, it's like, I've always loved, the way labels can, provide sort of like an access point into checking out different music communities, and you recognize the label on the spine or something, and maybe you don't know who the people are, but you're like, you trust that label.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Whatever. And I love that. So and it happened. So it was during. So the first thing we put out was one of my solo things. I think I just, for one, didn't know if I could get anyone else to put it out, and also
just to say, we've talked to two other people who have put things out on this label.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Including your second release.
Oh yeah, Patrick.
Yep.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's amazing.
Patrick's a legend, dude. Patrick's a legend.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Patrick I sort of think of Patrick as the first one in a way, because mine was like, well, I don't know who's going to put this out. Maybe I'll just do it as like testing things out, like making sure we get like the artwork the way we want it. And so,
see if it's feasible. Yeah.
Like, instead of like, it would have been fine if we fucked up a little, like on mine or whatever.
Yeah. To
start things out, but I would have felt really bad if like the first release. So anyway, but yeah, so we did mine first, and it was I think it came out in November of 2020. And so like it was in the works, for a few months leading up to that. But what the hell was I going to say? Oh yeah. Like, I think really part of it too was not having shows as a part of general social life and community and interaction and
yeah, Triptych came out like early days of COVID, huh? Like
yeah.
That was late 2020, and then I remember I was at the DMV in March 2021, and February was when that release had come out, and I was listening to the Patrick tape there.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, cool.
And then I guess followed.
Yep. And yeah, I just I think it was because I love putting shows together and organizing shows, and not having that, and then obviously not playing shows, like, I don't know. And I had a lot of time, and like, I just wanted to put my energy toward something that felt like community driven, even though it was, not in social, not in physical space. But just in a way that connected and brought more music out there. Cause that was the other thing, is like, there were all those Bandcamp Fridays going up.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and like, people were just putting up like, live, live performances from the previous month or something. And it would be like really, really sick stuff. I mean, there's so much, amazing music out there, obviously. So I was just like, it was, that felt really striking to me, as sort of started seeing people just self-releasing a lot of stuff and thinking, like, oh, there's definitely, sure, there are tons of tape labels, there's tons of experimental music labels, but there's even more need for that stuff to have a home to get released.
Yeah, for sure.
Because what shocked me was Astral Spirits had kind of in 2020 and then in 2021 especially really dialed back doing tapes. They seemed to like, let's go for vinyl, or let's throw a bunch of stuff to Astral Editions. And then it was like seeing Patrick and Ficus and Luke Stewart and being like, so they're just going to Triptychs, and Triptychs is kind of continuing this like mission statement. And really, I didn't get to hear a ton of the stuff. I didn't always get it, but what I was hearing, I was deeply like enthralled and impressed by, because the curation seemed so airtight. And I was curious how quick were you able to be like, I want to get this guy on my label? How did you know to do that?
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned, it totally makes sense. You mentioned Astral, and I talked to Nate a little bit before opening it up, or before starting it, and he was really helpful. And I think definitely like Ficus, I heard, or actually, no, what was it? Yeah, the drummer in Ficus, Vasco Trilla, had a duo with Ilya Belorukov, saxophonist and electronic musician from St. Petersburg. Oh. And I love that. And that's how I found Ficus. And I just really loved, we were just emailing, but I thought they were all so sweet. And we just had a great, back and forth, great rapport with them. And I've done a few other releases for Alex, the bassist, and actually the Ilya Belorukov, who did the Vasco thing with on Astral, is doing something on Triptychs at the end of this year. So yeah, there's some connections with Astral there, and I, it's like, yeah, but that's totally, if you're sort of in generally that world of improvisers, they're all putting out so much stuff, and of course they can't all do it on the same label.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that's a tricky thing too, is like, I definitely, I'm not going to tell anyone what to do, but I think like it's sort of common sense. Like you don't want to, because also it feels bad personally to like promote a ton of your own shit at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I just assume that people aren't going to like put out a bunch of other stuff around a release, but I usually do ask, just because it does happen with improvisers that are playing with a million different people. They might have, so it can be tricky at figuring out when to release something based on all the other projects that people have going on. But when I first got the idea, or once things were set in motion for the label, I basically just reached out to folks like Vasco from Ficus, that I heard, like people that I had kind of more recently been made aware of and excited about. Mm-hmm. A mixture of that and people who I'd had more sustained, more longer term
relationships
connections with.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's sort of how things started. And so it was like, just a continuation of friendships with some folks and the blossoming of new ones with some others. And it's been a really cool community, I think. And yeah, we have a ton of stuff coming out this year. So
that's exciting.
Oh, keeping it all tape.
Gonna do some CDs too.
Oh, nice. You're hopping on the CD game, dude. CDs are back. They're back in style.
I know CDs are back. I've been loving CDs lately, and
same. Yeah.
This makes me so happy. I was really scared you were going to say vinyl, and I don't need that. I could use a CD. No, I've got utility for that.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the means to do vinyl. That's for sure.
Maddie is the most anti-vinyl person I know.
I still get one like every now and again, but I just don't need them.
Yeah. I have a small stack, and what my job until recently was working at a record store, and I was getting some stuff, but it was like I was getting stuff and then like not really listening to it, and it's like you just bought this like $25, $30 vinyl, and like now it's just sitting on the shelf. I don't know. I mean, I do love records too, but I've been definitely more in tape and more recently CD world. Mm-hmm. So that's been cool. So yeah, we're gonna do like, I think we have like two CD releases lined up this year, and a bunch more tapes.
Exciting.
Nice.
I guess real briefly, I just wanted to ask too, because like I know some of like the records or like the tapes that you've put out and stuff are just like noise records. Like when did you start getting into like noise? Like I know you talked about like improvisation and stuff like that, and you came from like a jazz background, but when did you start getting into like, I guess just like the more electronic, like improvisational stuff, like noise and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I think that sort of adjacent to, or just aligned or an outgrowth too of just my time with Braxton, even though that, you know, Braxton isn't, wouldn't you know, fall under that, but just that time period of just kind of expanding my my tastes and stuff, and mm-hmm. and getting, you know, pushing through different boundaries and getting into I mean, because there's like a lot of like electroacoustic stuff too, like where, yeah, I mean, I don't even know how to, it's hard to classify too, you know, all the different sort of subgenres and mm-hmm. and like, you know, but I like stuff that does feel sort of hybrid and does feel kind of hard to pin down. And but yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like, you know, like there was an Austrian group called Polwechsel, and it's maybe weird associating them with like they're more in sort of like new, I don't know, like new music composition meets mm-hmm. improvisation, a lot of droney stuff, but a lot of very textural stuff, and definitely electronic meets the acoustic. So that was, I don't know, that was, in my early 20s, like that was kind of a pivotal group, and they were sort of like, like that kind of like Berlin. They were like from Austria. John Butcher was in that band for a little bit. I had like the Axel Dorner stuff, and the sort of more minimal stuff, but stuff that's like using acoustic instruments in a more just purely textural way, and that's a lot of like when I was first exploring extended technique stuff and sort of teaching or figuring that stuff out for myself. Mm-hmm. A lot of it was, I was kind of like trying to simulate electronic sounds and electronic music.
Oh, that's cool.
With the acoustic instrument. So yeah. And then I don't know. Yeah, there's so much great shit out there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, noise is just like super broad. I don't know. It's interesting. Like every person that we've had on that does like improvisation, they have like a totally different way that they've gotten to like noise music somehow. You know, like I know a ton of people who have like gotten into noise because there's like harsh noise and stuff, which like I really associate with like punk music, you know, because there's a lot of noise that's like very punk and like hardcore related, you know? it almost seems like an
a
offshoot.
lightning bolt wing.
Yeah, like it seems very like, you know, like Amps for Christ and like Bastard Noise and stuff that like comes from like purely like hardcore and stuff, you know. And then there's also like noise music that comes like from, I don't know, like acoustic stuff, like what you're learning and stuff, or what you learned and everything. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a huge world, and you know, I mean, I'm not a like, yeah, there's a ton of shit that I don't know about it too, and I realize that there's like a million different subgenres and different,
it's
different
crazy
directions and stuff. But yeah, I'm open to it all.
That's cool. Yeah, we had Luke Stewart on the show a long time ago, actually.
He was our first interview, really, and still one of the best.
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, that was fun. But like
he's so sweet. He's so cool.
Luke's really cool, and like his story about getting into like noise and stuff is really interesting. And I love how like he was just like improvising stuff on the radio, you know, just like doing weird electronic stuff on the radio, and that's kind of like how he started like getting into noise and stuff.
Yeah. It actually, I mean, it's for some reason it's just clicked now, even though you just said it a few minutes ago. But coming from like punk and stuff like that, that's interesting because I remember like, and it was with I was on a tour with like Charlie Looker, who was going to Wesleyan at the time, and he just put on like a early Lydia line. It was just like Teenage Jesus and the Jerks or something. Yeah. And it was just like, yeah. And like, I just had never heard, you know, I was like 20 or something. And I'd never, I didn't really have, like my like punk phase or whatever was like free jazz. So I didn't have straight up like punk phase. So it was like Teenage Jesus and the Jerks. And then he played like DNA and just that like, that like no stuff. And I was just like, totally blown away. And that led to like US Maple and like, I mean,
of course. Like
different thing, but it's like, you know what I mean? So there is that, that connection, too, I think of like, of getting into that kind of, just like raw shit. That's like, that I think is connected to noise or just adjacent music.
Yeah, I've also like dove in pretty like deep into like that side of like, you know, improv and just like weird music and stuff through like the US Maple route and like going into like Drag City and then like
oh my god,
yeah, like that realm of stuff. And then what was US Maple's like first label with like, you know, Skin Graft with like Flying Luttenbachers and like all of that like brutal prog like improv like noise type stuff. Yeah, that's another world too.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's so many different like offshoots of just like weird improv and like noise.
The other of that era that I love so much is Erebon Radar.
Erebon Radar. I thought you were gonna say Saccharine Trust.
Yeah, I love Erebon Radar. It's just like, I don't know.
It's
they were one of the first. So
that's
first for me.
This little tangent though does have me thinking of when we had talked with Luke about, because Luke Stewart really tried to make it as like, he didn't try to make it as damn clear as he could, but really does believe in that point of like punk, jazz, and noise intersect at a certain sphere, and when they do, that's a really beautiful sphere. He was basically getting to that, and definitively in a lot of the stuff he's done, I've just totally noted that kind of freewheeling of like the link, like that punk and jazz actually like are very similar at the end of kind of in that primal level.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
And just totally, I mean, that's really just stuck with me through doing all of these interviews, and I think really has colored a lot of the writing or way I approach looking at music. So thank you, Luke.
Yeah.
That's actually sick. That's cool.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah. Thank you, Luke, for all the music too. We got a Luke thing coming up too.
Oh, really sick. Didn't you already do one with Luke? You did, huh? Right? Did you do one with Luke?
Yeah, did a solo thing with Luke, and the next one is going to be a duo with Amirtha Kidambi.
Damn, that's sick.
Oh,
vocalist.
Amirtha's really cool.
Is it going to be another kind of voice game-esque thing?
It's so the two sides are really different, and one is straight acoustic and one is more electronic and processed, and Luke's doing kind of feedback stuff, and Amritha's got some electronic shit going on.
Oh, that's cool.
And it sounds wild. It sounds really good. And then the acoustic stuff is really stripped down and kind of melodic and just a different vibe that feels really good too.
Yeah, that's so sick. I'm looking forward to that. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That's right.
I guess that like sort of brings us to the end of the questions that we had, right, Maddie? But we have a couple listener questions here.
A few more, just at least before we do those.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Ned, I know you've got 2 releases though this year. One's a Triptych release and another's on Dinzu Artifacts Blind Field.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. If you want to go into any detail on this, because I know we didn't get a chance to talk about them. And I've heard Blind Field. It took me a bit to get into this. This is really, really lovely stuff.
Oh,
I love hanging out with these at like 11:30 p.m. passed out nearly. God.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that one was fun. That one feels like I mean it didn't take very long to make, but it sort of feels like like if I have like a pandemic record or something. It's like that was because it was like there are pieces that involve a lot of parts, and without having the option of playing them with other people, I just did them myself. So it's a really just a multi-tracked bass pieces for bass ensemble, a little bit of vocals, and yeah, it kind of goes in a lot of different directions. And I that was, I think, the last thing I recorded at I had this nice studio space in Portland at the Aphodian Theater, really nice venue too.
That's sick.
And that was it took a few days to record and did that. Psyched to do it on Dinzu too. They're really putting out great stuff.
Yeah, Dinzu's amazing.
And just had something come out. I haven't seen it yet, but it's a tape on Industrial Coast, who does the distro in the UK. Oh, wow. And it's with Jason Gibbs, who's this guitar player that I'm meeting up with next week.
Yay.
And actually on that tape, he's playing a lot of cello.
Oh, really?
Which he doesn't do often. So that was, he does a little guitar in that. So it's kind of a different, we've had a couple other one digital release with Confront, and one very short run CD release with 577. So this, just to, I don't know how many tapes Industrial Coast made, but short run tape release. I don't think it's even available digitally.
Oh, wow.
And yours as well. For Triptychs that you just had of your short story from 5 years ago,
right,
recontextualized. Yeah.
That was super fun. I'd been wanting to do that for a while, and just had a snow day from work, and just got pumped to do it, and I took 4 of the stories from the book for people that or whatever, they can look it up. But the book's called The Red Barn, came out a few years ago. Is weird and kind of violent and kind of minimalist style, and very kind of fragmented and nonlinear, and stories that I always wanted to do like an audiobook for, and do improvisations along with them. So that's what I did. I chose 4 of the stories, 4 of the longer ones. And I wanted everything like, to just be like one take, everything like, and luckily it worked out. Like I'm happy with the results, but I was like, but yeah, I was adamant about that. So so it was fun to go in with a little bit of pressure and just like, you know, re-engage with that material. I hadn't read anything from the book in a long time. And just read the text and then did an improvisation along with it. And then kind of tried to remember like what I did, but it was also to match the other improvisation, but also was just reacting to and did another. So then I just panned the two improvisations on either side. And yeah, I don't like really know anything about recording, but those two recordings were like the only, or I did one other pandemic recording early on of songs. So yeah, I guess I've done a few of my own recordings in the last couple of years, but yeah, just like on GarageBand and not really, just like with one microphone and just lo-fi style. So, but I think they sound good, and got a duo with Amanda Irarazabal, amazing Chilean bassist. We did a live show in Brooklyn last year. I think it was my first like indoor show
since COVID had started,
since the pandemic, and and it was recorded really, really well. I mean, we weren't like planning on releasing or anything, but I inquired with the folks that recorded, and it sounds really good. So we're gonna release that on Triptych. So it's just two double basses. Really, Amanda's amazing, and it was such a pleasure, honor to play with her. And I have a project here with Stella Silbert, who does turntable and no input mixer stuff. And so that's sort of on the kind of noisier, more textural end of things. And we have we did a recording over the winter, and I think it's going to come out on Notice Recordings.
Oh, sick! Yeah, Notice is cool.
And yeah, Evan is really nice, really great. But yeah, Stella is amazing. If you know the No Rent
yes
label,
know that label.
Stella's got a solo tape there under the name Sweetness, the Point of Song.
Oh, that's sick.
And it's a really sick release, and she's she's really great. And so yeah, we've been playing a lot. We just did a short tour with Laura Cox and Weston Olenki, and we've got a bunch of shows coming up. So yeah, that's been a really great collaboration and project to develop.
That's sick. All right. I guess that brings us to the end of our questions, right, Maddie?
At least ours.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just making sure.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of listener questions.
All right.
Yeah, you down to take them?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to take the first one, Maddie, or you want me to take one?
I'll go for the first one.
Okay.
A while back in an interview done, you were asked that if you were to teach someone a bass lesson that you don't think they would generally get from a bass teacher, you had responded with the phrase "to dance." Does dance play a role in how you've approached the upright bass in any capacity, at least to this day?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Oh no.
Because that's a tough one because I'm simultaneously like trying to think of how to answer the question and also trying to remember and definitely failing, trying to remember saying that or thinking that or what interview that would have been in. And if I was being serious or if I was just annoyed at the interviewer or something.
Yeah.
Which actually sounds like an answer that maybe I was answering in that way because I didn't want to or something. I don't know why. That's odd. Yeah, but
That's
at the
so
same
funny.
time, at the same time, the bass, yeah, of course, it is such a physical instrument. You got a whole body next to you that you're balancing too, which it is. That was one of the most interesting when I first started taking lessons with this guy Rick Rossi, who was at the Hart School, and he said, "Can you balance the bass?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Yeah, you have to balance it on your side here." And he sort of pointed out, and he put the bass on him and just held his hands up. And the bass didn't fall down. And of course, as a 19-year-old, I tried to do that and I'd never done it before. And it's I can't take my hands off it for very long at all. So, but there is this, that is one of the first things that you have to learn is really just to balance it so that both of your hands are then free to move around. So I'm not holding the bass up with my left hand. Because then I'm putting pressure on the bass, and it's putting unwanted pressure in other areas of my body. So if you're balancing it, that means your hands can be totally independent, and that eliminates any unwanted tension. So that's So yeah, you got another big body next to you that you're balancing and kind of, and you want your limbs to be independent. So you're kind of doing this dance. It's very physical, and yeah. So that that's interesting. I wonder what interview. I feel like whenever I look, not that I'm Googling myself and looking back at interviews very often, but when I have come across old interviews, it's a good thing that we like evolve and change and move into different ways of thinking. I mean, whatever, it's probably not that bad, but it's interesting to look back, because it's like, interviews are just snapshots of this one particular time. Yeah. Not only in your life, but also just like the one, especially for like written interviews. It's like, you want to take more time, like writing it out. But it's like, at the same time, if you wrote the answers out the next day, it would probably be completely different. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, definitely. And so it's just, whatever. For whatever reason that day, I was into the dance. So that's interesting.
No, I feel that I've got an interview with Nathan Cross of Astral Spirits, and it's in print. And he really spent a lot of time late into the night sending back an emailed response. And I don't know if that would have been the same a day or two later. And there's stuff in there where he's talking about plans for Astral Auditions that wildly have deviated from where it has gone, where he was like, he's now giving curation over to
Matt Rowland, the duo, Jen Powers,
Powers Rowlands. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So, right. And that was just not something he was even thinking about. Yeah. Or I don't really think contemplating like doing vinyl, but to have that window into his mind for a second there. I feel that.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. The bass is a dance though. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
I'll stick by that.
So this next one says, does he still like the Celtics?
Yes. Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's the short answer. But yeah, the Celtics were in the let's see, it's going to be game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals tomorrow. And I've been following the playoffs. I didn't follow the regular season super close. but I've been definitely following the playoffs. I'm more, I like watching good games. So it's like, I mean, I'd love to see the Celtics win the championship, but also, well, no, as we get in closer, yeah, I would love to see them win the championship, but there's a lot of fun teams to watch. So the playoffs, the games that I've been able to see have been pretty fun. A lot of exciting players.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah. This next one says, describe your perfect performance. What's the venue? What are the lights? Who's opening and what are you performing?
Well, I mean, maybe, yeah, I'll just say the last fun show that I played, and maybe that will inspire some imagination that I'm drawing a blank on. But it was me and Stella just played this festival called The Thing in the Spring, and
that sounds sick.
Yeah, it's really great. It's in this small town in New Hampshire, and it's funny, like you mentioned who was opening, and it was and I immediately thought of that show because it was a festival. It was like it's like the person before us was not opening for us, but because they played before us, it felt that way. And it was Lee Ronaldo, and it was kind of funny to be like, oh yeah, Lee Ronaldo is opening for me and Stella. But it was a really nice atmosphere at the fest. We just played in a parking lot, and it actually, I had trouble with it. It wasn't my ideal show actually, because I had a weird sound issue where there was some buzz happening, whatever. But but it was really fun. Wait, there's that one. So, yeah. So, okay. Me and Stella also played a couple like incredible for their just uniqueness. And one was actually that Evan from Notice put together.
Oh yeah, because he does the shows in that part of New York. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Not too far from here, and it was at this place called Opus 40, and it's it's basically like become sort of like a place that people can go visit, and it's like a land art museum, or what's the word, like not like a park, but like a I don't know. It's an attraction that people can go check out. But what it is there's all these sculptures sort of built out of the surrounding land, and these amazing rock structures, super elaborate. And it was done by one person who I'm spacing on the name, and that was their lifelong project.
Wow,
and they died doing it. And they have on the property, they have what they call the tool barn, or the tool museum. Mm-hmm. And it has all these crazy tools, just like hung up all around the space. And we played upstairs. It really felt like my book, The Red Barn, meets like was what became a reality, and we were playing in this space because there are all these crazy tools all around us, and it was in this big barn, and that was such a cool environment to play in.
That's so sick.
And Weston and Laura played, and Adrian Munden Dixon and Leo Chang. And that was just such a cool bill. The other place that we played recently that is worth noting for sure is this old waterworks museum. So we're playing tool museums and waterworks museums.
That's sick.
The old, spots. Yeah. And it's this experimental music programming organization called Non-Event in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing a festival at 2-day festival at this place, the Waterworks Museum. It was built in the late 1800s, I think, and as the population in Boston was just exploding, and they really needed to get water around the city, and they built this wild, elaborate system, and so there's these massive pipes going up, ceilings like 100 feet tall, huge pipes going up. It looks totally amazing, and it sounds crazy. And they put 4 speakers up throughout the room, and it sounded like, for the other sets, like if you just walked like a few feet this way, it sounded totally different. Things were just bouncing off in different ways, and sounds and textures were coming out in subtle but distinct ways.
Yeah.
And for most of the other sets, I just walked around the perimeter of the space, and it was just an amazing experience. And it honestly, for that reason too, that the sound was so, it was actually challenging to play in a way, where like Stella's mix, like the No Input Mixer turntable setup, was only like, we weren't hearing a monitor mix or anything. It was just from the speakers throughout the room. And then I had my amp, which was also going through the speakers, but my amp sort of acted as a monitor. So there was this sort of kind of challenging separation. But it was a fun challenge, I think. And it sounded so cool in there. Jake McGinsky did a set as well. And he did a modular synth set that sounded totally wild in there. That
sounds so sick.
So yeah, I mean, in place of actually using my imagination, maybe I'll just leave it with those, because those were pretty epic, as they say. Yeah.
The Waterworks Museum one sounds insane. Like that,
it was cool. Totally insane. Yeah. I still haven't, I guess they recorded it, and I'm really curious to hear what the set sounded like, because it was kind of hard to tell while it was going on. Felt good though. It was very fun.
Do they do shows there often, or was that just like a one-time thing?
No, I think they had done shows there before, but no, not often. Yeah,
that's super special.
Those non-event folks put on really cool shows.
That's so sick.
And that was a cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah. So this last one here, it says thoughts on bananas.
Oh yeah. I like the texture. I like the taste. I like the smell, kind of. I really like making banana bread.
Yes, that's the best.
And I like freezing them and putting them in smoothies.
For sure.
So yeah, I grew up not really liking bananas. But I'm very pro banana now.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm definitely pro banana. Bananas are one of my favorite fruits too. They're just like so like, I don't know. I've always loved the texture. I've met people that are like bananas are disgusting because they're like mushy, and I'm like, they're good. Like
I know.
I don't know how else to put it.
Eat them with your oats. They go really well with a bite of oatmeal.
Yeah, exactly. Or like slice them into cereal or something. Like, yeah, you could put them in yogurt. Like you can do so many things. Fried plantains, dude. Like you can fry them. You know, like so many different like things you could do with a banana.
I know. I went to this Salvadoran place for lunch yesterday. That I made my order, and then I saw that fried plantains were like a special after I made the order, and I was really regretting not getting the fried plantains.
Oh, you didn't get them. I was gonna say, did you like call the waiter back and you're like, can I actually get a side of the fried plantains?
Yeah, next time. I think they'll still be there.
Yeah,
but yeah,
next time.
That's a good. Yeah.
It's a good question, right? Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, bananas are the best.
Yeah.
So before we get into our absolutely last question of the show, can you just tell our listeners where they can keep up with all things Nat Baldwin?
Yeah. I pretty much, I mean, my Instagram, my personal Instagram is basically at this point just acts as a website. So I'm just promoting shows and stuff on my personal Instagram. And there's also a Triptychs Tapes Instagram. And both of those things have Bandcamp pages. Triptychs has a Bandcamp page, and I have a solo music Bandcamp page. And yeah, that's it. I don't have a website or anything other than that. And
there it is. Follow the Instagrams and send over some money on a Bandcamp Friday and get some tapes.
Oh yes, please.
Didn't we just have a Bandcamp Friday? Right? We just had one that passed. Okay. Yeah.
That might have been the last one.
Really? I feel like they've been saying that there was going to be the last one for a while, and then I guess
they should just always do one on the first
Friday. Yeah.
Wait, so are they actually stopping?
I wouldn't be surprised if everyone gets like an email the night on like Thursday or something of, that just says like,
sorry, we're done.
Actually, we're doing one more, or like,
that's
actually
what I'm saying.
We're doing 5 more, and then I don't know. We'll see.
Hopefully, it doesn't stop. I feel like that was such a good thing for music. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyways, we have one more question here. It's kind of the biggest one of the show now. Are you ready for it?
I think so.
Take it away, Thomas.
You want me to take it? Okay.
Take it away.
So, a rat is going to jump into your mouth. Do you want this rat to jump into your mouth head first or butt first, and why?
It's
a doozy.
My instinct is saying head first. I just I can imagine, like, I feel like if it were jumping in and we just sort of looked at each other right before it was just submerged by my mouth.
Yeah.
Like it would know that it had, like, if it went in butt first, it might like get kind of comfortable and
it's just relaxing
and be harder to get out.
Yeah.
But I feel like if it were head first, it would maybe be more jarring in the immediate, but I feel like it would probably be over quicker. Yeah, I mean, I feel like their mouths are probably a little less offensive than their butts.
Mm-hmm.
Like just going mouth to mouth just sounds better than going mouth to butt.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather make out with a rat than eat its ass.
Yeah, you'd rather give it a kiss.
Damn.
Yeah, give it a nice kiss.
Yeah.
A little sweet kiss on the forehead.
Yeah. Good question.
It's a good one, right? And every answer is different from everybody. It's just a great question to really get to know who you're talking to. A little known fact, I actually think that I got my current job because of that question.
Really?
Yeah, I had a job interview for my current job, which is actually like my first job out of college, I guess, in like a career or something, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
And so the interviewer, my boss or whatever, was just like, oh, you have a radio show. And he's like, talk to me about it. He's like, what's a question you ask everybody? And I was like, thinking in my head, like, do I ask that question right now? Like, is this appropriate or not? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna just go for it. And so I asked it. And he's cracking up. Yeah, it was funny.
He was into it. Nice.
He was into it. Yeah, luckily he was into it, and he's a cool dude. It could have totally went the other direction. Would be like, we're not talking to this guy again.
Yeah. Well, that's when you knew that you had you found the right spot.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. When he took it lightly.
That's great.
One of my favorite answers that I got and that I now go with is that I would take it, but first pet it on its head, calm it down, put it underneath my hat, and then go and make some ratatouille.
That's good.
That's a good one, right? Yeah. I don't know. Whoever said that, it was this band Gold Cage a long time ago, early days of the radio show. I don't know how they thought of that on the spot. Like, I was just like, wow, what a great answer.
Yeah, that's amazing. I don't have that quick.
Neither do I. Yeah,
that's
neither do
good.
I. Yeah. So anyways, that's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning into TBD on KCSB FM 91.9 every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. and NetNet Radio every Saturday, 4 p.m. This has been Nat Baldwin. Thanks so much for being on the show, Nat.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. That was so fun.